I'm Jamie, and today I'm going to bring you an overview of Print and Cut. In Design Space, Print and Cut is a function that allows you to take images and they could already be flat, like as in a JPEG or a PNG that you've uploaded, or they could be an image that's in multiple pieces that would normally cut out that you then flatten to use as a print and cut instead. The idea behind it is that you would use flat images or flatten your images so that Design Space would send these to your printer to print, and then you'd put them on your mat and your Cricut will cut them out for you. Super handy if you have images with lots of tiny details that you don't want to have to place individually, or in the case of making a sheet of stickers. Stickers are something I make a lot of. I have grandkids that just love them. I like to use a guide for print and cut. I mostly do letter size, which is probably what most of us do. And this guide that I've made here, it won't actually print. It's nothing but a guide. It just sits here and gives you an example. If I go to make it, you will see that the guide isn't anywhere. The only thing it's going to do is try to cut out the words flatten and PTC, because that's what was on my screen. So using this will allow me to fit as many as possible onto a single sheet and not waste space. If I'm doing a print and cut for a card or something else where I'm only doing a little bit and I'm not going to use a full sheet, I will go intentionally add extra images for stickers or maybe something I can use later so I can make the most use and fill up my sheet and not waste anything. So let's go grab some images to play with and show you some of the things you can do with print and cut. Let's see, let's grab this one. Let's grab this little dinosaur. Let's see, I want one that has some spaces in it. Maybe this one, we'll see. Okay, let's move all these aside for a minute and close the images window. Okay, this image here, as you can see, it's a little hard to see. It's got a white border around it that's kind of hard to see on this white background. So click on your blank canvas down here on the bottom right, and then go up to the top where it says color. Depending on the brightness of your screen, you may not be able to see this little box, but it's right under the word color. Click on that and it will allow you to change the color of your screen. I usually go with this light gray, but you could pick any color you want that works for you. Now we can see that this image has a white border or an offset. In this case, this particular image is already set up to be print and cut. As you can see over here in the layers panel, it says print and cut. That means that we can't do anything extra with it. We could add an extra outline or we could change its size, but we can't change its color or take it apart into pieces and delete things. As you can see, nothing down here is highlighted. We can't contour, slice, or any of that. So let's say we want to use this and start to make a sheet of stickers. This one was kind of big, so I'm going to resize it a little bit. Okay, I'm going to put him up in the corner just like that. Okay, now let's move on to an image like this one. This one, as you can see, if you look over here in the layers panel, you've got several different layers. So if I were to just go to cut this, it's going to cut out 4 separate sheets. Let's click make it so I can show you. This one is set for print and cut. But now you see we've got separate colors. This was the other image. These are all for that little dinosaur. Okay, that's not what we want. We want to print and cut this. But I want to show you something. On this image, you can see that we have everything is kind of outlined in black. Well, that's just showing you where the Cricut's going to cut out these separate pieces. Let's duplicate this and set him off to the side for a minute. Okay, now if we take this image and we just click flatten, notice that that little black outline detail is now gone. In this particular case, it's fine. It still looks great. But let's say I still wanted to keep that. I want that black outline. So what we do is we duplicate it, which we already did. And on the one that's the duplicate, you go select it, And then you go up here to the top under operation where it says basic cut, change that to pin. Now you have just your outline. Let's take this outline and drag it over here on top of the other one. We have to arrange and bring to the front. Select them both and then go up to arrange again. Oops. We didn't get them both. Okay, go up to align and center. Now you can see your little black outline is on top. But what we have to do is select them both, make sure they're both selected in your layers panel, and click flatten again. Now it's one image. So when I go to make it, this time, that little dinosaur is one piece, and you can see he's still got all of that black detail. It's just a handy tip when you have something where you really don't want to lose all of that. Okay, let's shrink him down, and we'll put him right there. Okay, now let's use this for another example. Let's say we want to print and cut this, but we don't want all this blank space. If we flatten this the way it is, well, we can't because it's set up to basic cut. I can change it over here to print and cut. Now you can see there's a grid behind here. If I go right now to make it, you can see that it's going to cut out every little, well, you can't see it on here, but it's going to cut out every little detail. It's going to take all of this space out of the inside. If you can see the grid behind it, those pieces are going to cut out. So this is another situation where we're going to want to use something like an offset like they did on this image to keep it all one piece. So let's go up here to offset and let's play. So this offset is marked by this little blue line, and you can see it's pretty big. We maybe don't want it that big. So let's shrink it down to something that seems a little more manageable. Let me go just a tiny bit smaller. Okay, I like that. You can do two choices with the corner shape. You can either keep it rounded, which is what this one's currently set for, or you can change it to square. In this case, it really didn't make much difference, but if you have something with really sharp edges on it, you might want the square edges to remain square edges. In that case, make it square. But in this case, I'm going to leave it on the rounded corner. And I'm going to hit apply. Okay, as you can see, that gave us a black offset. I don't want this to be black. Let's say I want this to be, I don't know, select offset, and then go over here next to basic cut and click this little black box, and then you can pick what color you want. Ooh, that blue is too much. So is that one. Well, that's kind of okay. No, I don't really like that. Okay, let's just go with white. All right, so here's our white offset. So now as you can see, this is actually two pieces. In this case, we still have holes here. Those are still going to cut out. So this is where I would choose to contour, and I would click on hide all contours, make sure that it got rid of all of those little holes, and now we have a solid piece. Now we can bring our solid piece back over to our image, select both, align and center, and then flatten it. Now, when it cuts out, it's going to cut this all out as one piece, and it's only going to cut around the outside. It won't cut all those little pieces inside. Offset and contour are truly your friend if you're going to work with images that have a lot of open spaces like that one did. Now let's size that down, and we'll move it about right there. Okay, now if I just leave this the way it is and I click make it, Design Space is going to decide where it wants to put these on my sheet. I really want them right here, but I'll show you what it's going to do. Well, it kind of kept them in the same space, except it moved this one over. I don't necessarily want this, so I'm going to go back and I'm going to select my three pieces. It would be more. If I had a full sheet, I would select the whole sheet. And then I'm going to attach those. Now, if I go to make it, it puts them all in the position I had them in. Keep in mind though, because my sheet's not full, it did move it down to meet up into this corner, when in all actuality, it could totally have gone right here. And you can move them. You can move them on this screen and have them print where you want them. It's important to remember that, because sometimes Design Space doesn't put an item where you really wanted to have it. Okay, let's go grab some more images and we'll fill up this sheet the best we can. This is cute. Let's see, maybe some flowers. Oh look, another axolotl. Let's see where we get with that. Let's size him down. Okay, this one is already a print and cut, so we can just use it the way it is. And we'll put him about right there. This one is not a print and cut. It's got several pieces. So again, I'm going to use my offset, only this time I'm going to make it really small. Yeah, that looks good. I'm going to go to contour because that's the only item selected right now. And I'm going to hide all contours because I don't want those two holes at the top. And then while it's still selected, I'm going to change the color. I'm going to go ahead and make this one white as well. I'm going to select both and flatten. Now it's a printable image. Notice how you lost all that little detail like I showed you before with this little dinosaur. In this case, it's fine. I'm happy with it just the way it is. Now I'm going to grab that image and I'm going to put it over here. Now let's go do this little guy. Okay, this one's the same thing. You can see that it's a cut image because you can see it has numerous pieces over here. I don't see my grid behind any of this, so I'm pretty safe just clicking flatten. And as you can see, there's no holes in him, so he should print just fine. I'm going to make him really small because I have a kind of empty space right here and I want to use it. So let's do that. Okay, let's grab a few more images. Let's see, we can do this seashell. We can do this fish. Okay, let's maybe do this one. All right, so these two are already set to print and cut. You can see that up in the window. The scallop, however, even though it has an offset, you can see that it's numerous pieces. So once again, I'm going to want to select this image, make sure I've got all of it, as you can see highlighted over here, and I'm going to flatten it. And once again, I've got a fairly big open space that I want to use up. So I'm going to put this right here in this hole. Okay, now this fish is already a print and cut, so we're going to use it the way it is. And let's see, I'm going to go a little bit smaller. I'll put it right there. Fishbowl, same thing. This one is set to print in several pieces. I can't quite tell if there's a hole back there, so I'm going to make it bigger. Yes, there is. I can see the grid back there. Okay, so this is another one. I'll need to use offset for this. And it's already pretty tiny, so I think I'm happy with that. And as you can see, it filled up that space, so we're even good with that. But again, I'm going to change the color. In this case, maybe I'll change it to the same blue. And then if I select the whole thing and flatten, the offset should disappear. That's a handy tool to have. That doesn't always work that way because you can often not match the color exactly, but sometimes you get lucky like I did on this one. And this is another case where I've got some empty spots. I'm going to go ahead and put this little guy right there. Now you can continue to fill this up. You could grab some other images. Let's go with this one. It also needs to be flattened because it's set to cut. We can shrink him down pretty small. Oh, a little bit more. Bring him down into that area. Okay, let's see if we can find something else. Okay, this one is also set to cut and to print and cut, so it's got both. So we're going to make sure that it says flatten. We want to keep it that way so that the whole thing prints as one little piece. And we're going to shrink this down enough that we can fit it right here. And I could see an image like this could be something that I might want to use a lot. So let me duplicate that and see if I can maybe make it a little bit smaller and print a few more in. There's one. Let's see if I can get one up here. I can. Okay, now our page is fairly full. I could probably fit a few more things, but we'll just go with this. Now I'm going to click down here so that my guide highlights so that I can grab it and drag it out of the way. Now I'm going to select this entire set. You got two choices here. You can either attach or you can click flatten again. It doesn't really matter which one you do. I would probably just attach. Now they'll all stay together. When I hit make it, they're all going to be in the position that I had them in on my design screen. You can see how they're all pretty much right where I left them. And it looks like I could have gotten a few more in there, but we'll just go with that. This would cut all of these out along the outside edge, and as you can see, it would use up most of our page. We could have added a few more things and made sure that it filled it up, but for the purposes of this video, it did its job. This is something that we do a lot, and you'll also hear a lot of people say, well, you know, I went to print it and it looks wrong. Okay, let's take this word for example. Here, I'll make this just a little bit bigger, oops, so that we'll be able to see it better. Let's flatten that, and let's go to make it. You have options when you go to print something, and one of them is to leave the bleed on. We're going to tell this to send to printer. This is more or less what your sheet's going to look like. Oops, that's not the one we want an example. This one is. Okay, the way this is showing you, it's showing you what it's going to look like when it's done. And in this case, it looks all clean and it looks all pretty. I would also turn on my system dialog. That is something I do for all of my print and cuts. If I were to print this just the way it is, when it comes out of the printer, this is going to look all fat and fuzzy. And the reason that happens is because bleed is on. If I let it cut it out, it's going to cut all these letters out and they will be nice and clean and crisp, just like they appear here. If I turn bleed off, they'll look pretty on the printed page, but it's still going to cut exactly the same. In most cases, you want to leave bleed on for everything. The only exception to that is if you're doing sublimation, where you're not really going to cut it out anyway. In that particular case, turn your bleed off because you want that nice, clean, sharp edge on your print since it's not going to actually cut them out. And another thing I hear a lot of is, well, my printed image looks like crap compared to what it did on my screen. Well, that comes down to your settings and the kind of paper you use. If you use a good quality sticker paper or a printable vinyl or even photo paper, which I do a lot, I will use my system dialog and I will tell it that I'm printing on matte photo paper or glossy if I happen to be printing on glossy, and I'll tell it to print in best quality. If, however, you are printing on regular cardstock or maybe just copy paper, in that particular case, I would tell it I'm printing on regular paper, and I would probably set the image to quality of best or fine. But be aware that it's going to put down a lot of ink, and if that happens, in some cases, it may make your image look kind of muddy or make it look dull. So you might want to play with your settings, and printing in normal might actually work better in that case. But as you can see, print and cut is something that can be super useful, and it can take a lot of the work out of working with images that have a bunch of tiny pieces like that flower. That would have been a lot of pieces to cut out and then later have to glue down. I hope this helps you learn a little bit about Print and Cut, and go have fun.